And we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mwila Munganama, and I serve as the virtual event coordinator for Black and Sask. Today, we are so excited to be joined by Sash from LocsBySash. I would first like to acknowledge that though we are meeting digitally, I am joining from the traditional lands referred to as Treaty 4 territory. The city of Regina is located on Treaty 4 territory, the original lands of the Cree, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Today, these lands continue to be a shared territory of many diverse people, including us, and it is essential that we recognize that we all benefit and have responsibilities under these treaty agreements. As an organization, we acknowledge the harms and injustices of the past and the present, and we dedicate our efforts to working together in the spirit of collaboration and reconciliation. As we are all treaty people, we respect and honor the treaties made on all territories, and we acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. We are committed to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous peoples and First Nations people. The organization and I are committed to turning our thoughts and intentions to being better and doing better. And as you already know, as this is one of our last installations and not one of our first live talks, but Black and Sask is a youth-led nonprofit dedicated to contributing to the holistic growth of the Black community throughout the province. This session is called the Black Business Spotlight. And now I'm just going to pass it off to Sash to introduce herself and her business.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Sasha. I'm the owner and operator of LocsBySash. I've been doing it for a few years now. I really enjoy it. So let's talk about it.
For sure. And so first question, just jumping into it, as you said, you've been doing this for a few years, but how did you get started? What really inspired you to branch out and start your own business?
Okay, so I am actually a mother of twins. So I have a boy and a girl, and I'd actually started with them. They were actually the first people whose locks I actually did, and their dad. And I thought, well, I'm actually good at this. And then people would see them and be like, who does their hair? And I'm like, it's me. And then it kind of took over. And then I thought, well, since I'm good at it and I enjoy it, it's something that I should actually take on seriously. So then I'd begun like doing people's hair in the community. Then I started to, whatever trend I would see that people would like, or whatever way I had to learn, like different methods of starting locks, I always practice on myself first. Yeah. So then people would see me and my kids' hair, they'd be like, who does your hair? We need to know who does your hair. And then it began from there. So then I'd got like some certificates in actually being a lock stylist. And then from there, it just spread.
No, that's great. So you keep your kids looking fly and you're learning at the same time. And it's like, it's a win-win type of situation, right?
Yeah.
So that's great. I would also like to ask a follow-up question. What are some obstacles you faced when starting up your business?
Ooh, obstacles. Well, the first thing I would say is actually becoming like a registered business, because we all know lots of people that probably like will braid on the side or do hair on the side. You know, you do it to get extra money, which is part of the reason why I first started too, just to get extra money. And I find that there's not much direction. There's not much direction as to, okay, this is how you go about registering your name. This is how you go about if you're a corporation or if you're a sole proprietorship. There's no direction as to which one you would fall under as being a business. Yeah. And then also there's not much guidance unless you have money, basically. So if you have the money to go and speak to a lawyer, that's fine. But then a lot of us are working, we're in school, we have kids to take care of, we have all different things going on that we don't really have, like, I don't know, say $1,000 to $2,000 to put down to just go and speak to a lawyer and say, hey, what do I do? So then we find that, okay, well, it's a barrier. There's so much paperwork that you have to go through because nobody around you really knows how to get it done. Yeah. So that's one obstacle. Another one is financing. It is so hard to get money to start a business.
Yeah. And so how did you find out this information yourself? Like, did you just use Google or you just asked neighbors and other people?
Well, it was lucky for me. I'm telling you, God does not sleep. So I was a legal assistant at a local law firm in the city. And part of the job that I had to do was with corporate tax returns. So that's when somebody is a registered business and they have to do their annual return every year to file it with ISC, which is who you register your name with. So I started to do the work, and then I would ask my boss, who was a lawyer, what is this for? How do you do this? Why do you do this? I would ask him so many questions. And with that, that's how I knew the steps to take.
Yeah.
And then I was actually able to register the name at first through that office. And then I continued like that.
Yeah. No, that's very good, because I think especially within the Black community and the African community, we sometimes find it hard to ask the questions that we need to in
Yes.
order to learn something, even though it might help ourselves, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
it might help us in the long run. We
Mm-hmm.
find it harder even to ask help from other people, because you don't
Yeah.
want to be seen as asking for too much.
Yes.
So
Yep.
yeah, that's very good. I'm very proud of you for doing that, and that's very good advice. Like,
Thank you.
always ask questions, always know what you're doing, always know that,
Always.
yeah,
Always. Because the thing is, if you don't ask, you're not going to get an answer. Like,
exactly, yeah.
if you've heard the saying, closed mouths don't get fed. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't say anything, then nobody really knows, oh, well, she wants to learn about this, so then let's teach her about it. Or he wants
Yeah,
to be able to go in this direction, let's show them the way.
yeah,
So, yeah.
exactly. They might even present, when they know that you're willing to learn stuff, they might even present opportunities to you for that
Yep.
stuff where you get to learn more, right? And you get
Oh,
to
yeah.
build those connections. So it's always a great thing to ask questions.
Oh, yeah.
But on to the next question. I think we just talked about a few challenges to businesses, but do you think there's a few challenges Black businesses face within the province specifically?
Yes, most
Yes.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if I wasn't in the world of or in the legal field as being a legal assistant, I would not know half of the things that I know. And
Yeah.
then being that, I find there's a lot of things, and then in Canada, it's almost like that some people in Canada, they have a mentality that Canada is so open. If you need anything, you can just ask. Oh, your neighbor can be your closest friend or whatever. But it's not always like that. So
Mm-hmm.
then I find that if people, especially for Black people owning a business, like I said in the beginning, you never really know what direction to turn in. You never know who to look to, because you again you feel like, oh, I don't want to bother these people with all my questions. And then at the same time, there's not many of us as Black businesses here. So then
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to be like, oh, well, that's my competition, so I'm not going to go and ask them. But at the same time, we have to do a lot of working together. I would
Yep.
say that we have to do a lot of working together. Like in the paragraph that I'd sent you for this, I'd mentioned Lucky. Lucky was one of the biggest people that whenever people, if people came to me and was like, I need to find a barber, I'd say, go to Lucky.
Yep.
He's the best, go to Lucky. And then I found out in turn, he was doing the same thing. When people would come to him and say that they want locks, go to Sasha, she can do it. And then that's how I found that we built a relationship. So if there was more of that, there would be less challenges for us to face as Black business owners. And then also, we still have to contend with the fact that people don't seem to understand why we have to state that we're a Black business. They don't
Mm-hmm.
say, well, Walmart doesn't say it's a white business or whatever. So why do you have to say you're a Black business? Well, we don't get as much support. And we don't know, like I said, we don't always know the avenues to take. We don't know the
Yep.
directions to take. So we need all the help that we can get. So then if it means that, look, we need to be pushing people and say, buy Black, buy local, support Black business and stuff like that, then that's what it's going to take. Otherwise, we're always going to have this challenge where it's like the demand is high, but then at the same time, it's hard for us to get the supply to provide to the demand. So then we have to charge these skyrocket prices just to actually keep food on the table and to keep our business going. Really, we don't want to,
Yeah.
but we have to do it just to keep the business going, because we don't get as much traffic through the door all the time. Not as much as the popular businesses do.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think you pointed out a few great things. I would like to start with going back to one of the comments which you made, whereas closed mouths don't get fed. But I think
Mm-hmm.
also the idea of what you're saying between you and Lucky, kind of that kinship and trading and being able
Yeah.
to be like, I don't necessarily have to be able to do all types, like every single type of
Yes.
hair, because
Yes.
Sash is down the street and I can do business and
Yes.
she'll do business with me. But also
Mm-hmm.
it kind of pulls into this notion of closed mouths don't get fed. Yes, ask the
Mm-hmm.
questions you need to, even if they're
Yep.
your competition, but also we can all eat together,
Of
right?
course.
We can
Of
all sit
course.
at the table and eat
Oh
together
yes.
because we're not
Yes.
always each other's direct competition.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, and 100%. I think it also your comparison with Walmart is very important because sometimes working with nonprofits and working with other places where when you do offer a product, it tends to be on the higher end. One,
Mm-hmm.
because you're paying your workers a livable wage.
Yep.
Two, it's also because the thing that you brought up, and my economics friend Delapo is going to love this, like demand, right?
Yep.
Demand, if there's more people going to Walmart, that
Mm-hmm.
means it's going to cost less because there's more of you.
Exactly.
But if
Yep.
you only go once a year and then you keep expecting the prices to go down, it doesn't make sense. So you definitely
Nope.
need to be like recommending to your friends and
Yeah.
recommending to your cousins and your brothers and your sisters, even just putting
Definitely.
it on there. I think, and with that, I would love to ask the questions. What is one of the best methods to support a local business as well as a Black business?
As
Because
well as
that
a
doesn't always mean, because some people don't have locks or some people can't afford
yeah.
it necessarily, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how can other people support?
How they can support social media is our best friend right now. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
as bad as COVID has been, social media is everything and it's booming right now. So like, share, comment, follow, pass on the person's name. I could see you and say, Mwila, do you need somebody to touch up your hair? Go to that person, they can do it. And from you it would spread. You could be telling your mom, your sister, your brothers, your aunties, however, whoever, and then it will spread through the community. You can even say, hey, do you have any business cards? Do you have a page? You can share it. If you are the kind of person who has the regular money, like for, I would say, for example, for like a basic retest with me, I only charge $75, right? So if you're the
Yeah.
kind of person who has $75 every month, come and spend your money, because then that's the best thing, because then eventually if there's more people come in, you can get your hair done and you walk around and people see your hair and say, who did your hair? Tell them straight away, this is the
Yep.
person that did my hair. And then there's even from the business side of things, which I find that I do too, and a lot of other businesses too, give incentives to customers, give incentives to returning customers. Use the different tools that you have, especially the ones that we have right now, and just keep, even like with all the negative side of things, like where people are being hurt by police and being killed and they're unarmed and all kind of bad things, when they say her name or say his name, the same with our Black businesses, say the name, because if you
Mm-hmm.
continue to say the name and you spread it through the community, that's how we build up each other, and then the wealth just recycles throughout the community, and then eventually all of us are up. We can all sit
Yep.
at the same table, like you said.
Yep. We can all eat. The table is big enough.
It's
No,
more than
100%.
big enough.
It's massive, but
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, I think no, it's a very important point that you're bringing up. I think we also find it, even if we're not business owners, sometimes I see in the Black community we're
Mhm.
very like guarded about the people that do
Yes.
our hair or about the
Yes.
people that do certain things for us. But it's like you need to share, because that's why, see, now we're paying $125 for
You see?
cornrows
You
because we're
see?
not sharing. You
You
don't want
see?
to share it. Now
Listen,
you
I
said you're
remember
paying for
the days when
yourself.
it was like $60 to get your hair.
60, yes. Downtown Regina in an auntie's basement. Yo, the way me and all the other
Yes.
execs of BIS talk about this so often, in an auntie's basement, she gives you some tea and some crackers, and you sit there for 9
Yes.
hours, and
Yeah.
65, boom, boom, done.
It's
And now
done.
it's
And then
like
you looking fly.
you could even afford it to get it done every 2 weeks. That was when we used to keep them for like a
Exactly.
month and a half. But now
Oh
people are
my
paying
God.
125
Yes.
to keep it in for 2 weeks. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
no, okay. But sorry to get we can go on and on about I think what we did discuss specifically, why is the cost of braids on the rise? Or why is the
Product.
cost of getting your hair done?
It's products, like products, not enough traffic coming. Like there's so many people because I either usually travel to people or people come to my house, right? So either way, I'm covered, I'm certified, they'll be fine. But the problem is people will come to me and say, why don't you open a store? And I'm like, do you know how expensive it is to open a place? Do you know how much money you have to be investing? And then the thing is, you've invested, say I get a loan for $25,000. If I say to them, like this was also with my boyfriend, he has sky level images. And when we were trying to sort out his business loan, the amount of papers and all kind of things they wanted us to fill out just to get the loan. And I'm like, seriously? I could have just told them I want to buy a house or I want to get a student loan. They'd have given me the money like that.
Yep.
But then for me to go to them and say I want a business loan, that's the first barrier.
Yeah.
Then if you do get through with the business loan, you get a loan for 25,000. Just example, you need to be making sure that you can pay for your products. You need to be keeping the place clean. You have to pay your staff. You have to pay your rent. You have to pay your bills. You have to keep everything in the shop running, but the traffic needs to be coming through the door to make sure that you can cover your overhead and still pay the loan back to the bank, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're the kind of person who you save like crazy. Not everybody can do that with the cost of living right now. But that's the biggest thing. It's not easy. It's not easy to open a place. So for people that have done it, man, I take my hat off to them. Especially, like I'm gonna keep saying it with Lucky. I will always send people to Lucky. Always. Yep. Because I understand what it is to run a business. I mean, thank God it's in my house. But he has a place of business that people have to go. He has to keep making sure that traffic is getting through the door to cover the costs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, no, 100%. When you're suggesting stuff like that to people who have small businesses or home run businesses, you have to be ready to also be willing to show up, right? When that business opens. And to show up and to be positive about it and to be able to support those people. Because as you were saying before, this isn't just an individual thing. It's not just this individual Black person. It helps the community, right? It supports the community. It comes back to you. I think it's very interesting. The discussion of community support, I think also recognizing that Black people or people with Afro-textured hair are very much a minority in Saskatchewan. You do have to reach out to people of other ethnicities, races, and backgrounds. And so I would like to ask, how do non-Black people kind of react with your business or kind of intertwine?
They love it. Honestly,
they love it. Yeah,
they love it, and they will come. It's funny because they'll come to me before they'll go to their own. There's the first non-Black person's hair that I did was a white lady. She lives in Outlook in Saskatchewan. And she said, I found you on the internet. I was searching for somebody who did locks and I couldn't find anybody who did it to the standard that you do. Have you ever done my hair before? So I was like, to be honest, no. I said, most of the people whose hair I do, they look like me. She goes, okay, well, you look like you're doing a good job, so I trust you. And she came and she's been with me ever since. I've also had Filipino community come to me, the indigenous communities come to me as well. And most of them, it's as if they're more comfortable coming to a Black woman to get their hair done before they'll go to anybody else. So they love it. Black people love me, of course, but
yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
But most races that come to me, they love it. They're glad, they feel comfortable, and they're always interested to learn and how to do things on their own. So
yeah,
I have no problem interacting.
Yeah. And so, and maybe I'm going to ask this question first. I think you, as everybody has heard during this conversation, will be referring to them as locks instead of dreads. Why did you make that as the choice for yourself, or do you kind of pick whichever, or is there a difference?
To be honest, in the colloquial way that's used that people know it today, locks and dreads are not different. For me, I don't call them dreads because the word dread is a negative word for me. I understand the history of the word. The dreads are actually named after I don't want to say gang. They were like a tribe that were fighting for our freedom, And as an act of rebelliousness, they grew their hair, and then they were referred to as dread,
Yeah.
like dreadful people. But
Yeah.
then, knowing what we know now, dreadful is not a positive word, right? So not to take away from the history of where the word is coming from, but I would prefer locks because your hair is literally locking together. So that word is everything for me. If somebody comes and says, I've had many people who will text me and say, hey, I just got my dreads done. I'll say, okay, well, let me see your locks.
Yeah.
And then they send me a picture of their locks, or they'll continue the conversation about locks, and you notice the language changes and they start to refer to them as locks because these are locks of hair. What is dreadful about this? Nothing, right? So that's why I
Nothing
think
at
the word
all. It's the most beautiful, and I think one of the things that I found funny is this notion, even that I grew up with in an African household, that it's like dirty or unclean.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, bro, do you see my scalp right now? This is the
Right,
cleanest my hair has ever been.
right.
This is hard to maintain. The moment
Hmm.
your locks get dirty, you'll feel it. You
Yep.
can't move. You can't, like, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
It is not going to happen. And if locks look visibly dirty, it's like, I have something to tell you. That's not about the locks. I'm so sorry. And to assume that's also like how everybody treats their locks, because I found most people, they treat them very well, right? They take
Yes.
care of them because they mean so much. But I think getting into the history of kind of the word dreads, do you ever find yourself having that conversation, having kind of those historical discussions, or discussions about locks and lock culture and the relationship between Afro-Caribbean culture as well as African culture with your customers? And how does that go, or how do you as well educate yourself, or and also does it get tiring at times?
Not really. Doesn't get tiring. The
Hmm.
conversation does come up where, and it's mostly with the non-black people who want to learn. They're not being ignorant about it. There's a difference. You can tell when they're like, ooh, your locks must smell, or do you wash your hair, or how do you do
Hmm.
this? I had a lady once, and I'll never forget this. And I was at work, and she walked up to me and she grabbed my hair like this. Not hard, but she grabbed it like this. And she's like, how do you wash this? I said, how do you wash your hair? Is it hard for you to wash your hair?
Yeah.
And she said no. So I said it's the same process. I said, as a matter of fact, it's probably easier for me to wash my hair than it is for you to wash your hair. And she saw me after that and she apologized. So in those situations, it can get tiring, but for me, it's not. So, like for example, with the Filipino guy whose locks I did for him, he was like, what can you tell me about locks? What are they about? I feel like I just love the African culture, and I love the culture of the hair, so I just want to learn everything. And I took him through all the steps, and I was like, this is why we do it. There's even, and it's funny, especially for us as African people, and if we are brought up in Christian homes, the same thing that you said, we're always taught, oh my God, don't put dreads in your hair. They're awful. They're terrible. There's just a negative connotation with it. But there's actually a scripture in the Bible, in Leviticus, that instructed the tribe not to cut their hair and to not let a comb pass through the head. Therefore, they will get locks. But a lot of people don't know that. So I always use these different questions that people come to me with and give them as much as I know. And if there's something that I don't know, I say, I'm going to look up that and then I'll get back to you.
Yep.
And then I try my best to do it that way.
Yeah. I think it's also very important for people who are specifically business owners, but also somewhat sharing a part of culture, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's hair, but it's not just hair for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. And so sharing
Yeah.
a part of your culture, kind of having that education piece, because as we know, as we were saying from our auntie's house, it's very easy to go sit in a chair for 8 hours and say nothing. And
Yeah.
learn absolutely nothing. And
Yeah.
it's very easy. I was in the Caribbean recently. It's very easy for people, especially non-Black people per se, to
Mm-hmm.
not learn the proper techniques about how to care for their hair,
Yeah.
right? And so when I was there and I was in a salon, we had a few people come, and then they were like, they didn't know what an ACV rinse was. And I'm like, what have you been, you were using conditioner in your locks? Like, you were, oh, and they're like, oh, I did. And as you said it before, it's not out of ignorance. It's
Yeah.
just because it was done by somebody who didn't have a kinship with a culture, who didn't care. It's more just like, I'm here to get paid and get it done.
Yep.
Right, but that's not how you do things, especially for such a long-lasting style, because you might end up ruining somebody's hair. So I truly appreciate you kind of bringing that in. But as we are getting closer to the end of our time, I would like to ask, what separates your business, or what do you feel separates your business from other similar business in Saskatchewan, if there is any other similar businesses in Saskatchewan?
I don't know. I know that there's a lot of salons that
Yeah.
actually do, and then they specifically cater more to Black hair more than any other culture. They do welcome all cultures, but you know when you go to a shop, this is a Black shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anybody that specifically does like one type and like their whole brand is around one type of hair,
Yeah.
being Locs, which mine is Locs by
Mm-hmm.
Sash. And I always try to, what would separate? I would always try to say that what separates me is the fact that I'm trying to keep it as natural as possible. In Jamaica, we say ital, like living like the Rasta people, like
Yeah.
Rastafarians, to keep it
Yeah.
as natural as possible. So I don't really tell people to use chemicals. Well, we can't really get rid of it with like shampoo and stuff like that. But I encourage people use their oils, use this in your hair. Don't use too much conditioner in your hair because conditioner is bad, especially
Bad.
for your locks. And just keep it
Bad.
simple, keep it
Yeah.
natural and simple, and that's it. And that's what my business is about.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think that's, again, I'm going to say very interesting. I think that's also quite different from how other salons, Canadian-based salons, I've been to very few of them for obvious reasons. But Canadian-based salons, it's like when you're leaving, and apparently they try to like sell you stuff.
Yes.
Which is like here, buy this like purple shampoo. Oh yeah, purple shampoo was something that was really big quite recently, right? And those all
Mm-hmm.
those like big shampoo kits and everything. And I'm just like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
like that's so interesting that that you're not trying to sell people and you need more stuff to keep your hair healthy. It's like less stuff, less things. The more ingredients you can read and understand, the better. And that's definitely the best way, I think, for eating and anything you put in your in your body, anything you interact with. That's the best way. And I think my second last question is, where would you like to see your business in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, I would hope to have, honestly, I think I would still be working through home, like as a home
Mm-hmm.
base, but I would want to expand. So if that means me buying another house with a bigger basement and more additional space, so then I can add to it, so then I can give people that experience, but then we're still at home kind of thing. You're still in your
Mm-hmm.
auntie basement, you know what I mean? That feeling is something that is important. So I'd want to keep that. And then I'm definitely going to have products out. Definitely. All the products are going to be handmade, made by me. They're going to be safe and natural as possible. And yeah, just keep on doing locks, loving locks, all of that, just expand as much as I can.
No, for sure. We look forward to seeing everything that you're going to do. I look forward to buying your hair products. Because I'm lazy. I won't be buying, and all this stuff from the store necessary. You don't know where it's being shipped from. And
Yes.
my stash from back home is going to run out, sadly,
Yes.
sometime soon. So, if you can definitely also mixing in those ingredients, and I think what you're saying as far as natural and culture and bringing in that aspect of like that homemade feeling, you don't always get that even when you're sitting in between your auntie's legs in the basement. And
Yes.
also you can also get it by being able to buy products, and that's
Yeah.
definitely another way to support as well, right? You can't
Mhm.
afford getting a retwist or whatever. Just buy a $50 product every
There you
two
go.
months. Right,
There you go.
that's another way. But keep supporting, keep bigging up everybody. Keep, even the new products come out, share it, and just make sure people are going, because the more
Yeah.
people go, the cheaper it is for you. It won't get more
You
expensive.
see?
That's not how
Exactly.
mathematics works. That's not how it's not adding up. But anyway, so I would like, as my last kind of wrap up, where can people find you? How can
People
people
can
get in
find me.
contact?
Okay. How to they book and all stuff like that. Okay, so I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I have an appointment booking link that's on my Facebook page and it's on my Instagram page. I'm the only one that answers my phone. Nobody else. So your message won't get lost. Your booking won't get lost. You always talk to me. The only disclaimer I have is that I'm not going to be answering right away because I have so many messages, but I will always reply. I always make time to get hold of people. So Instagram at LocsBySash, and then Facebook at LocsBySash.
No, for sure. And they'll catch you there so that they can support, you know?
Yeah,
They know what to do by now. We've been saying it all night.
Like, share, comments, tell everybody.
Everything. Tell everybody. Even you see a bald guy, tell them. She can make it happen. She can make miracles, right? That's what we're doing. Actually, let me not promise stuff on your name. But she can do a lot of stuff. She can do a lot of incredible stuff. Thank you so much for spending time with us and for having this conversation. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll catch up with you later.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Bye.